Welcome to
Introverts, own your voice. I'm Tom Marcoux.
And I'm Johanna McLeod.
In this episode, we're going to talk about create your life as meaningful, exciting, and abundant. Of course, those words mean something different to every individual. The thing is, how can you have more of what you really want? Many of us spend most of our time trying to create more abundance, greater income, more financial assets. But some of us get caught up in this twisted journey where we miss out on the other parts of life. I had an old phrase. I said, the man who arrived at success just in time to lose his marriage.
Oh, no.
That we want to put it together. Now, some people are making a big noise about, well, there is no work-life balance. Perhaps when we talk about time, the work-life balance thing seems to be a myth or unusual. But there can be choices we make about our focus.
Tom, I had a question. How can introverts create excitement for themselves?
I see you noted the exciting part about the three things we're focusing on. Meaningful, exciting, and abundant. So that's where you went first. Okay. Exciting is often something that's great, that happens, that surprises us. I call it delightful surprises. My business coach at one point asked me, what do you like about writing? And I said, delightful surprises. In order to have these delightful surprises, life will throw at us other things that are surprising that we don't like. We'll get to that a little later here. But for the delightful surprises, you have to be planting seeds everywhere, all the time, all around you, so that on any given day, you have no idea what delightful surprise will blossom and show up in your life. That's exciting. For example, recently, one of the people I know sent me an email to introduce me to someone that she knows. And the exciting thing here is I have moments of every day where I'm kind to someone, helpful to someone. So here's something that blossoms after a couple decades, because here's a connection I never would have had, but someone who was happy with me and who was happy with how I was kind to this person. That's what created this excitement. I'm so excited because what I like doing is I like helping decision makers, people who have their own businesses, people who are in leadership positions like a CEO, help them make a great positive impact. This impact will carry beyond their lifespan and carry beyond my lifespan. That's part of my legacy. That's exciting for me. Exciting to someone else might be, I would like to have some more vacations with family, or I would like to have more time to devote to certain hobbies, like perhaps surfing or something like that. So the idea is, by devoting attention to having some things in your life that give you delightful surprises, that's terrific. Now, I have a way to organize how we look at developing these things. And I just think of the word fantastic. Like, over the years, I've heard that the movie Fantastic Voyage would be remade. The word fantastic, I'll bring it down to a tiny word, fan. Three main points. The first thing is F stands for flow and be flexible. When we keep ourselves strong, when we take good care of ourselves with good nutrition, exercise, enough sleep, time with friends, time with family, when we do this, and time alone, particularly we as introverts, then we have the energy to develop that facet of our life that's exciting. Specifically, to answer your question, introverts have got to devote their time and focus to the basics. What's interesting about alone time is it doesn't always have to be long, but it does have to be daily for the introvert.
You've been talking about a lot of different, keep it basic, keep it simple. How do we find fulfillment as an introvert?
We have to define fulfillment. We have to define meaning. We're talking about create your life as meaningful, exciting, and abundant. What creates your meaning? For decades, I've had this personal mission caption. It's as short as just the words below a photo, 11 words. I help people experience enthusiasm, love, and wisdom to fulfill big dreams. I chose every word with care. I chose something that I could memorize, and it's right in front of me. And it tells me what is meaningful to me. Enthusiasm, love, and wisdom to fulfill big dreams. That's why I study every day. I want more wisdom. I want more understanding. I want to extend loving kindness to people. I want to have a meaningful life. Each individual, every introvert that listens to this program and everyone who's not an introvert, you can take 10 minutes. If you're not in a vehicle listening to this, you could pause and you could just write down what would be meaningful for my life. What is most important to me? And write those things down. Just jot it down. If you took 5 minutes and you just noted what's most important to you, then you would have a focus point or a number of focus points so that you can create more meaning in your life.
Tom, what 3 things do you want us to remember?
Oh, I want you to remember more than 3 things, but but I'll focus on 3 things. All right, so the first thing was flow and be flexible. This is all for meaning, excitement, and abundance. If you're flexible, you can respond to opportunities better. If you get enough sleep, you're likely to be less rigid, you're likely to be less irritable, you're likely to be able to be present. So flow and be flexible. A is adapt to chapters. Life is a bunch of chapters. A lot of times, you really have to have a buffer of energy because life will kick you into a chapter you don't want to go into.
That happens a lot.
It does. I mean, the times where a friendship ends, or I had a friend who committed suicide, and that created a new chapter of life. Life kicked me into a new chapter. One chapter, he was in my life. The next chapter, he was not in my life. We need to take care of ourselves. Now, N of fan, as you know, we've been saying flow and be flexible, adapt to chapters. N is nurture. We need you to nurture yourself. We need you to nurture your life. We need you to nurture people around you. But one of the most powerful phrases that I've come across, and this happened recently in my studies because I study some material every day. In fact, I just noted that I had completed reading 53 books so far this year. The phrase that I will always remember is this. It's from Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he says, the more you extend kindness to yourself, the more it will become your automatic response to others. So I'll share that again. The more you extend kindness to yourself, the more it will become your automatic response to others. So kindness is what I'm going to add on to this conversation. Kindness becomes your style of living from moment to moment. You're kind to yourself, you're kind to people near you. It doesn't mean that you won't take care of yourself or defend yourself or be strong or stand up for what is right or what is necessary for the health of yourself and people who are important to you. But kindness can be extended. I'll give you an example. Every time I walk into a building and I see somebody maintaining that building, that is taking out the garbage or clean the floors or whatever they do, I say, thank you for your work. They're stunned.
I know, I've said that too, and they turn around and look at me like I've got 3 heads.
But they're all kind heads.
Yes, they are.
But the idea here is extending kindness uplifts the person you're talking to, but it actually uplifts you. And I want to touch on abundant. So of the things that I want us to remember, to have an abundant life, you need to live abundantly. If other people don't extend kindness to you or approval to you, extend it to yourself. And as you extend kindness to other people, you're actually giving yourself that experience. And so your subconscious mind says, there is kindness on this planet. There is compassion on this planet. There is abundance on this planet. And if you are kind to somebody else, if you give them, someone in your circle, if you give them a gift or something like that, it makes you realize I have some form of abundance that I can give a gift. A gift can be a postcard. A gift can be, I remember there have been times with my sweetheart years ago, we've been together more than 18 years, where there might be a cash flow problem. So I'll draw, back then, a drawing of a dozen roses. The idea has manifest on paper, on the bathroom mirror, so that she knows that she's important to me. And the idea is that she'll write on the piece of paper, thank you, Tom, which is still an expression of love and kindness, even though at the time the cash flow wasn't where I preferred it to be. And certainly was not where it is at this time in my life. The point is that kindness is the essence of creating the abundance you want, the meaning you want, and then excitement happens with the delightful surprises because of all the seeds of kindness and goodness and loving energy that you've planted daily. So there's something I want to add to this idea of nurture. Now, to nurture your abundance, we have to be aware of what you need to provide for your clients. Clients and customers want two things: hope and certainty. They want certainty from you that you can help them. They'll ask you, can you help me? When I work with people, I'm all in. I'm certain that I can help you. They want certainty, but they also want hope because they want their situation to improve. Now, the interesting thing about an introvert is that we are rewarded for what we do naturally. The introvert advantage is that we think things through. But to really nurture you as a being, there's a phrase that people are spiritual beings having a human experience. So as a being, we need you to be making space for your feelings. When you're good at something, you get rewarded for it, and so you emphasize it. Now, I remember one time I was working with a particular coach, talking about something that was really heavy for me, and I felt that I might cry. I said, so, do you have some Kleenex? It turned out that the Kleenex box, the tissue box, was underneath like 4 books. You're probably chuckling about that because that's a great metaphor for me, because I really like to think. I mean, I have 46 books up on Amazon right now. One of my favorite books is called The Writer's Solution, Crush Your Self-Doubt, because that 46th book tells how I wrote the 45 other books before it. But my point, though, is that yes, this metaphor, because the world rewards me for my natural introvert advantage of thinking things through. So we got 4 books piled on top of the Kleenex, the tissue box. Some of us introverts, we reward ourselves. We only pay attention to ourselves about how we get rewarded for thinking things through. In order to have the life of abundance, meaning, and even excitement, you got to focus on taking care of your feelings and making space for you to express sadness, making space for you to express joy, love, and to be aware of. There is something that really surprised me. One of my coaches brought to my attention, there's a phrase, it comes from philosophy, first thought, best thought. Now, I don't always agree with this idea, but the concept of first thought, best thought means the first thought often is an expression inside you, in your mind, of your feelings. Like if something makes you scared or upset, that's what's called a primary emotion. So we need not to always express those. I always think about all the terrible sitcoms where someone says, I am not angry, and they break the top off the chair. We don't need to express every primary emotion out in certain ways that might cause trouble for a relationship. But we need space for us to say it's okay to have emotions. So when we talk about nurture, we need to make space for taking care of us as a whole human being. A human being that feels, a human being that longs for closeness, a human being that longs for delightful surprises. Many of us long for some form of spiritual connection, however that might be, even just walking in nature. Whatever that is for you, that's how we will be at our best in all the other opportunities to create meaning and abundance in our life. So, Johanna, what are you going to keep from this conversation?
I really like the idea of jotting things down to give yourself comfort and to give yourself a pat on the back.
Terrific. Great. That leads me to add one extra thing. I have a daily journal of victories and blessings. This was my response to being very sad during college. In college, every night I would go to sleep upset. In fact, I had a particular girlfriend in the middle of those years where she lived somewhere else, and I sent her letters. And the thing is, I wrote them at like 11 p.m. at the end of my, I'd say, work day, because I worked in the mailroom of the college, and then I also did my work in terms of studies. And the thing is, those were the saddest, most terrible letters. I hope she burned them. We have not been in contact for decades, so I don't know what went on with her life when she moved on. But it's also understandable why she moved on, because this was a really sad guy. I had to learn how to go to sleep happy with my daily journal of victories and blessings. In about 2.5 minutes, I can write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. These are things that maybe I accomplished, like daily exercise, or my dash of Tai Chi, or dash of meditation, or yoga, whatever that is, something I accomplished. It's a victory, a personal victory. But there are blessings. A friend calls out of the blue and I have a great conversation. So daily journal of victories and blessings will help you be aware of the meaning and the excitement and the abundance in your life. Thank you, Johanna.
Thank you, Tom.
October 2018, I'm doing a workshop called Convince investors to fund you. Master the 3 critical factors of pitch, network, and follow-up. We'd like to share that we have an online class called the Introverts Formula to Get Clients. The next class, with some space still available, is in January 2019. So if you want to pre-enroll, you can go to getthebigyes.com and click on the contact and send us a message. Once again, that's getthebigyes.com. We're glad that you heard this broadcast, and we invite you to
Click to subscribe.
and then you'll be supporting me and Johanna and our message.
And so now remember,
Introverts can show their best self with strategy.
I'm Johanna McLeod.
I'm Tom Marcoux.
Thank you.
Be well.
Bye.